All right, Happy New Year's. The nature of negative sensations, and particularly the intensity that goes along with, physical pain, inspires us to naturally want to stop it from happening. The natural reaction is, okay, what am I doing that's causing this blank thing to happen, right? And how can I stop it from happening? How can I fix the issue, right? Pain is the issue. How do I fix that issue, right? And it feels like this dynamic sets up the premise for some pretty interesting things. Now, in reality, it feels like no, pain doesn't necessarily mean there's a problem. It doesn't necessarily mean that you caused the problem, nor does it necessarily mean that you can fix the problem. Pain is just pain. Fear is just fear. Evil is just evil. I don't know to what extent you can actually mix and match them. But this reaction that we have to pain, I think, sets up the premise for some pretty interesting things. You could think of disciplines kind of in that category, right? You have a child who plays in the road, right? Now, that's not a painful thing. At least the pain isn't directly linked to it. It's potentially dangerous. It's not a scenario in which you want your child to learn from experience, right? So you create an arbitrary connection between, hey, I spank you when you play in the road. There's no direct connection between those two things, but you contrive a connection there to get the child to connect the pain of spanking with playing in the road, so that they don't have to learn from experience, right? In the same way, abuse is kind of in the same category, where you have abusers who say, "This is why I'm doing it." In that case, it's not. It's more about control rather than discipline or safety or getting the child to control themselves or whatever. And following out from that, I guess torture would probably be in the same category. There's a reason how it's kind of weird though. I think pain is stimulating enough that there's a reason torture doesn't really work. It's because when you put a person in enough pain, you can get them to pretty much believe anything and believe that they believe the thing, even though it's completely ridiculous. Which actually brings up an interesting theory. I had kind of mentioned this in one of my videos previously. There's a notion that thought is a type of exertion, right? It takes effort, right? But the theory would be that if you have some sort of mental illness or you break your mind on some really fundamental level, you could effectively end up with a mentality or a brain that would cause you pain when you think about certain things. You effectively would end up with a really bad feedback mechanism, which kind of begs the question as to what types of thoughts or beliefs would result from that type of mentality. It's a kind of interesting notion.